Organization. It is Wednesday, June 16th, 2021, 30 p.m. And if you'll stand with me, Councilman Tarman will do the invocation, and Councilman Speaker Humphreys will lead us in the pledge.
All right. Dear Lord, we ask for your blessing and guidance. During this busy time of the year, we ask for your protection on those that travel our roads. With your grace, may they travel and return home safely. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, our next item is public forum. Do we have anybody that signed up to speak?
No, we do not.
Okay. And we move on to approval of the agenda. Are there any items to be added?
No additions or deletions.
Okay. Then we just need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, we will move on to the planning section, the planning and transit consent agenda. So were there any items that anybody had questions about? If not, I would entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
Motion to approve. Second.
We've got a motion and a second. With no discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. On to the planning action items. First item is consideration of Resolution Bay 2115 adopting the Bay County TPO fiscal year 2022 to 2026 transportation improvement program. And Mr. Kramer is going to present.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, TPO members. Enclosure A is the fiscal year 22-26 Transportation Improvement Program. The fiscal year 22-26 Transportation Improvement Program was a review item in April and for action this month. The fiscal year 22-26 Transportation Improvement Program is the end product of the cycle which began with the TPO adoption of the fiscal year 22-26 project priorities last September, and the FDOT presenting the tentative fiscal year 22-26 work program in January of this year. The fiscal year 22-26 Transportation Improvement Program was posted in the link in your agenda enclosure on May 21st, 2021. And the link was also emailed to the members of the TPO, TCC, and the CAC by Mary Beth Washnock on May 21st, 2021. The comments were received from the fiscal year 22-26 Transportation Improvement Program begin on page 28 of the agenda enclosure and were addressed accordingly in the fiscal year 22-26 Transportation Improvement Program. Both your advisory committee met earlier today and recommended approval as presented. If you have any questions, I'll attempt to answer them. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Kramer? And we do need to open a public hearing for this item. So is there anybody in the audience that had any question or comment? This item. Not seeing anyone. So did anybody have questions for Mr. Kramer? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, we do need to do a roll call vote on this item.
We do. Commissioner Robert Carroll,
Yes.
Commissioner William T. Dozier,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner David Griggs,
Yes.
Mayor Pam Henderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Brandon Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Pat Perino,
Yes.
Councilman Michael Jarman,
Yes.
Councilman McConnell,
Yes.
Commissioner Topeka Humphreys,
Yes.
and Commissioner Josh Street.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Motion carries, and we will close this public hearing and move on to the next item, Enclosure B, which is consideration of Resolution Bay 2116, adopting the Bay fiscal year 2023 to 2027 project priorities. And again, Mr. Kramer is presenting.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Enclosure B is the fiscal year 2023-2027 project priorities. The project priorities are based on the cost feasible plan of the long-range transportation plan. Once the TPO approves the project priorities, we send them on to FDOT to use as a guide to build their 5-year tentative work program. The TPO's version of the FDOT 5-year work program is what's called the Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP. The difference is the Transportation Improvement Program also contains the locally funded projects, not just state and federal funded projects. Also shows you how the projects may be implemented in the next 5 years. The methodology for capacity projects is based on the 2040 long-range transportation plan. Completed projects are removed from the list. Projects scheduled for construction the first 3 years are moved to the fully funded list, and new projects are placed at the end of the project priority list. Transportation system management projects, which are short-term operational projects, such as turn lanes and signal modifications, are ranked based on TPO approved criteria. Transportation alternative program projects are primarily bicycle pedestrian projects and are ranked based on TPO approved criteria. Public transportation projects are listed by potential grants and furnished by the TPO's public transportation staff in consultation with the regional public transportation provider, which is Baytown Trolley. Aviation projects are provided by the Northwest Florida Beaches International Airport. The port projects were provided by the Port of Panama City. These are the 7 tables and 6 sections that comprise the project priority document. I know we had limited amount of copies today, but you might have a copy in front of you as well. You also can review the project priorities by clicking on the link in the website, which is also included in your agenda enclosure. The interactive map hyperlinks also included in the agenda enclosure and shows you where the project priorities are located and descriptions of the project priorities. We had 2 TPO TCC CAC workshops for reviewing the project priorities. The first one was held March 29th. We had a comment on Table 1, non-SIS priority number 5, State Road 390 from 77 to 231. Non-SIS priority number 7, US 98 at Thomas Drive. The non-SIS priority number 8, Transmitter Road from C Street to US 98. Was recommended these projects move from the non-SIS to the SIS project priority list. However, we cannot do that until these projects are included on the FDOT's SIS cost feasible plan. If they are, and sometime in the future, we cannot move them at that time. Table 3, TSM priority number 1, operation and maintenance of the current ITS system. The cost estimate should be $600,000 instead of $500,000. We'll make that change. The other workshop was held on May 24th, 2021. I'm on table 1, non-SAS party number 4, State Road 22, Weewa Highway from Tyndall Parkway to Star Avenue. It was recommended that the right-of-way is mostly within the existing roadway, but retention ponds are needed. But FDOT has also indicated that additional right-of-way is needed beyond the retention pond. So when we developed the long-range plan, we costed the right-of-way out for this project at $20 million. Table 1, non-SS, priority fully funded project, Lynn Haven Rails or Trails, replace the word that we misspelled east with the correct spelling of east. We'll make that change. The last comment was table 3, TSM, priority fully funded project, US 231 from Titus Road to Star Avenue. That was a discussion by the TPO at your April meeting. And they want to know the status of that project, so the status is included in the project priorities. What's next? Once the project priorities are adopted, hopefully today, we'll send them on the FDOT by August 1st to use as a guide to build their tentative 5-year work program. Earlier today, the PCC and the CAC recommended approval with the changes I just went over. If you have any comments or questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Anybody have comments or questions? Again, this is a public hearing. Public hearing, is there anybody in the audience that had a comment? So I would entertain a motion on this item.
I'll move.
We do have a motion and a second. And if there's no further questions or comments, again, this requires a roll call vote. So Angela?
Thank you. Resolution Bay 2116, Commissioner Robert Carroll,
Yes.
Commissioner William T. Dozier,
Ma'am.
Commissioner Doug Moore,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner David Griggs,
Yes.
Mayor Pam Henderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Brandon Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Pat Brino,
Yes.
Councilman Michael Jarman,
Yes.
Councilman McConnell,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Topeka Humphreys, and Commissioner Josh Street.
Yes.
Right, motion carried.
And we'll close the public hearing on that item. And if I can, before we go on to the next item, I should have said this at the beginning. We'd like to welcome Commissioner Josh Street, the new commissioner for Panama City. This is his first TPO meeting. So he picked a good one to come to as his first.
You guys got a lot going on.
Welcome. And if you have any questions,
Glad I could come in just to make approval.
we appreciate it. We hope to see you back at the next one. Okay, we'll move on to Enclosure C, which is consideration of Resolution Bay 2117, adopting the 2045 Bay County TPO Long Range Transportation Plan Cost Feasible Plan. Again, Mr. Kramer.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, TPO members. Enclosure C is the 2045 Long Range Transportation Plan Cost Feasible Plan. The 2040 Long Range Plan was adopted on June 22nd, 2016 to maintain a 5-year requirement between long range plan updates. The 2045 Long Range Plan must be adopted by June 22nd, 2021. The TPO approves the scope of services of the 2045 Long Range Transportation Plan on July 24th, 2019. There are 6 major tasks in the scope of services for the 2045 Long Range Transportation Plan. As you can see on this slide, the first 5 tasks have been completed. Those tasks are goals and objectives, evaluation criteria, and financial resources, performance measures, congestion management process plan, and the needs plan. The last topic, for the development of the long-range plan is what's called the cost feasible plan. That's the topic we're going over today. The methodology for the cost feasible plan, we reduced the 2045 needs plan to a 2045 cost affordable plan. Projects in the 2040 cost feasible plan, but are not in the 2045 cost feasible plan, are listed on pages 91 and 92 of the agenda enclosure. Tells you why those projects are no longer included in the cost feasible plan. The financial resources, which is the revenue we have to work with when we're developing the cost feasible plan, listed on page 41 of the agenda enclosure. We had 3 steering committee meetings regarding the cost feasible plan. Summary of those meetings are on pages 46 to 77 of the agenda enclosure. We also had a public workshop at Panama City Beach City Hall, and the summary of that meeting is listed on page 45 of the agenda enclosure. We have an existing plus committed network from 2015 to 2024. Those are projects that have been constructed or will be constructed by 2024. So they are not included in the cost feasible plan. Those projects are listed on page 42 of the agenda enclosure. The 3 funding sources for the cost feasible plan are what's called the Transportation Improvement Program and local funded projects from the years 2020 to 2025. Those projects are listed on pages 78 to 83 of the agenda enclosure. The second funding source is the Strategic Intermodal System projects. Those are the major highways in the area, US 98, State Road 390, US 231, for example. Those projects are listed for 26 to 2045 and are identified on pages 84 to 88 of the agenda enclosure. The last funding source is what the TPO has the most control over, is the non-strategic intermodal system projects. Those years are 2026 to 2045 and are identified on pages 89 to 90 of the agenda enclosure. The TIP local funded projects there's a map on page 78 of the agenda enclosure, and I'll go over that map in just a minute. The funding sources, the Transportation Improvement Program, Bay County and Panama City Beach CRA project. Those are identified on pages 79 to 83 of the agenda enclosure. This is our map of the TIP and the local funded projects from 2020 to 2025. You can see on top of the screen, the map is State Road 20. At the bottom left is the US 98 from Walton County line to State Road 79. There's another portion on Panama City Beach Parkway. On the bottom is Front Beach Road projects for the CRA for Panama City Beach. US 23rd Street from US 98 to 390. Also has some projects on 390. And then there's a project that's funded by Bay County for Jenks Avenue as well. That's under construction as we speak. US 231 from 98 to Penny Road. East Avenue from the port entrance up to Sherman Avenue, Baldwin Road area. The Gulf Coast Parkway from US 98 Tyndall Parkway to Star Avenue, and then the replacement of the Pont Bridge as well. The Strategic Intermodal System projects are listed are for 26 to 2045. The map and spreadsheet are pages 84 to 88 of the agenda enclosure. Hopefully FDOT will be updating the SIS cost feasible plan soon. That time we long range plan to include the new projects for the SIS cost feasible plan. However, as mentioned earlier, we cannot just move projects from the non-SIS to the SIS projects. We must be on the FDOT's SIS cost feasible plan. And that plan is identified in this hyperlink, which is also in the agenda enclosure. This is a map for the SIS cost feasible plan. I'll go over in just a minute the projects that are fully funded and partially funded on this map. The fully funded projects are 23rd Street from US 98 to State Road 390, US 98 Mandy to Nautilus, US 98 Walton County line to State Road 79, US 231 at Transmitter, it's an intersection improvement, and the State Road 390 Mill Bayou Bridge replacement. The SIS projects that are partially funded, Transmitter from US 98 to C Street, US 231 from US 98 to 23rd, US 231 23rd to Pipeline, US 231 Pipeline to Penny, US 98 Nautilus to Richard Jackson, US 98 Richard Jackson to Hathaway Bridge, East Avenue from the port entrance to Business 98, East Avenue Business 98 to Sherman, and US 98 from Transmitter to Tyndall Air Force Base. The non-strategic intermodal system for 26 to 25 or 2045. The map and the spreadsheet are identified on pages 89 to 90 of the agenda enclosure. As mentioned earlier, this is what the TPO has the most control over. Initially, we developed 3 scenarios: project priorities, evaluation criteria, and the multimodal. The steering committee met, like I said, 3 times there regarding the cost feasible plan, and ultimately decided on one hybrid scenario for the non-SIS cost feasible plan. This is what the map of the hybrid scenario for the non-SIS cost feasible plan. Projects that are fully funded in the non-SIS cost feasible plan for 2045. BOTS funds on Intelligent Transportation System, $600,000 per year. Complete streets, studies at $150,000 per year. Implementation at $500,000 per year. Public transportation, $350,000 per year. Bicycle pedestrian, $350,000 per year. And regional trails at $150,000 per year. Also fully funded projects in the non-SIS are State Road 22, Weewa Highway from US 98 to Star Avenue, East Avenue from Baldwin to State Road 390, elevated pedestrian structure US 98 at North Pier Park Drive, and a roundabout at Harrison and 6th Street. Partially funded projects in the non-SIS 2045 cost feasible plan. State Road 390 from 77 to US 231. US 98 at Thomas Drive intersection. Transmitter from US 98 to C Street. Tower from State Road 22 to US 231. Gulf to Bay Parkway in Mexico Beach from County Road 386 to south of Tyndall Air Force Base. Bay Parkway Phase 3 from Clara to Chip Seal. An elevated roadway next to US 98 from Clara to Nautilus. These are the comments we received on the development of the cost feasible plan. The April 28th CAC meeting, another large development was mentioned by Star Avenue and Weewa Highway. We have a land use committee that reviews the proposed land use before we start the long range plan process. So every 5 years we look at the land use. So at that time we recommend we look at the land use again for when we start the long range plan process again in 5 years. And it was mentioned State Road 22 shown as a 4-lane need. Fully funded in the draft cost feasible plan from US 98, Tyndall Parkway to Star Avenue. Star Avenue from State Road 22 to US 231 is shown as a 4-lane need and partially funded PDD and designed for 4 lanes in the cost feasible plan. That's projects that are based on the comment above that was our response to the comment above. At the April the 2021 CAC meeting, a comment was made with the Eastern Shipbuilding being an emphasis of the Port of Panama City and impacts for East Avenue will be increased. This response below shows you that East Avenue is identified in the long-range plan as a 4-lane need and partially funded as well in the cost feasible plan. Other comments on May 6, 2021 public workshop, a comment was made to prioritize right-of-way funding for east end of US 98 projects over the west end. FDOT and TPO staff agree to that, and FDOT has indicated the eastern segments of Panama City Beach Parkway are priority of the district and also the top 3 projects for advancement on the production list. Last comment, May 6, 2021 public workshop, a comment was made if a conceptual design for the elevated segment of US 98 is available. Our general planning consultant developed the cost estimates for that, and they're a professional engineer, and so that was their best estimate for the cost of that structure. I think they questioned the cost of the elevated structure on US 98. This is where you can review the draft cost feasible plan by clicking on this link. The link's also in your agenda enclosure and was emailed to you by Mary Beth Washenach on June 7th as well, that the cost feasible plan is out there for your review, and hopefully you had a chance to review it. We are recommending approval. There are 3 separate motions that we would like. The first motion is to approve the cost feasible plan. The second motion is approval of the different groupings that are identified so we can convert the cost feasible plan to year of expenditure. And the last motion is summarizing what was adopted for the past 2 years. Ultimately, we'll summarize those different topics that were approved by resolution and summarize them in the final report. But that basically approves the final report for the long range plan. Both your advisory committees recommended approval as presented earlier today. If you have any comments or questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. Sorry it took so long, but it's the most important project that TPO does it. So it took quite some time to review that.
Anybody have any comments or questions for Mr. Kramer?
I do have one question, if I could, Matt. Gary, I noticed we've removed Griffiths Parkway from the cost feasibility plan, and it's showing it being extended out to 4 lanes. Currently, it says construction is complete, but we only constructed 2 lanes. Are we just going to leave it at that, or are we going to leave it on the list for future possibilities for 4 laning?
It'll be on the future list for 4 laning. There's the right of way is there for future 4 laning. So it could be constructed as a 4 lane in the future.
At what point do we place that on a list? I mean, it's been removed now. I don't want that to fall off. We've constructed everything out there in mind of having 4 lanes built out there eventually. So that's going out to 2045.
I think we can change it to 4 lanes instead of 2 lanes and leave it at that.
Okay.
Do you want to make that change? We would be more than happy to make that change.
I would like that.
Anyone else have anything? Well, again, this is a public hearing, so we'll open the public hearing. And does anybody in the public want to comment? No one? Now, can we make one motion to cover all 3 of these requests, or do we need 3 separate motions?
Yes, Chair, you can make one motion, but we do need to add in to Mr. McConnell's request motion.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion to that effect. If somebody wants to make a difference.
I'll make a motion with the change from Bay Parkway widened to 2 lanes to widened to 4.
Okay.
We have a motion and we need a second.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, we need a roll call vote, so.
Yes, ma'am. Bay 29-17 and Commissioner Carroll,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Dozier,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Griggs,
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Henderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Perino,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Jarman,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman McConnell,
Ma'am.
Commissioner Humphries,
Yes.
and Commissioner Street.
Yes.
Motion carries.
We will close the public hearing. And that takes us to enclosure D, but I think we took care of this at our last meeting. So this was just for the TCC and CAC chair and vice chairs, I believe. Is that not correct?
Yes,
And
that is.
enclosure D, we have already addressed that at TPO, so we don't have to address enclosure D. We voted on chair and vice chair at our last meeting.
Yes, that is correct. Do you want me to report who your TCC?
Please.
Okay, for your TCC, you now have Eddie Cook as your chair and Kelly Jenkins as your vice chair. And then for your CAC, you have Ollie continuing another 2 years. I think, I don't know how many years that's been, but it's been a long time. And then as your chair, and then Mr. Pretlow as your vice chair.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. And now we'll go on to our FDOT update, Mr. Paul.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The department has one item to update this board on today. It's actually a public meeting. It's really out in September, but since TPO won't meet again until October, we want to go ahead and give you kind of an advance notification of this. It's the US 231 widening project. Two segments that go from North Pipeline Road south to US 98 or 15th Street. We have a public hearing to present the final design for the project Thursday, September 30th, from 5:30 to 6:30 at the Highland Park Baptist Church Fellowship Hall on 231. This will be a hybrid public meeting, so in addition to the physical location, we will provide the opportunity to do this virtually. Announcements will go out in the form of email notifications to the elected officials, stakeholders, property owners along the corridor, and the TPO around the 1st of September. But again, this was just kind of an advance notification to let you know that one was moving forward. And with that, that concludes the department's update. I'm glad to answer any questions.
Mr. Dozier.
On that section, we're still in the property acquisition stage. Do we know percentage-wise how much property's been acquired? Roughly, I mean, it doesn't have to be exact. Just
based on sheer dollar amounts, you know, we're looking at probably, maybe 15%.
15? Okay.
Now, we've entered into negotiations and discussions with the majority of property owners, but as far as actual acquisition, we're still very early in the process. The right of way, as you all know, was very expensive on this, so we actually spread it out over 5 years.
Right.
We'll be acquiring right away all the way through fiscal year 26.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for Fdot? Commissioner Griggs?
Spoke earlier with the DOT concerning the signaling at 231 and Titus and Star Avenue, that section there. And that is part of what we have approved. But funding for it is in 2023. So talk to them about seeing if we can come up with funding earlier to get that project done earlier. I think, Bill, a year or so ago, you requested that be moved as to a separate project, and we're just, all I'm doing is just keeping it up there. Because that is a dangerous intersection. So, he was going to see if you want to comment about that, see if we can move that or come up with additional funding.
Yes, sir. Projects like that, signal projects, thing we can get shovel ready in a fairly quick period of time, are prime candidates for any stimulus dollars that may come at the federal and or state level. So we have this project, we've got a project in Santa Rosa County, they're just prime for advancement. And so we'll definitely keep these ready to go, because I'm sure certain amounts of the stimulus funds will come with certain requirements that project funds have to be spent on construction. We're hoping they'll be open to more than just that phase. But again, any opportunity we get to move these smaller projects forward, we will.
Thank you, Brian.
Anybody else have anything? Okay, thank you, Mr. Patty. Now we go to the planning presentation items. Y'all want to say anything about?
Yes, Ms. Brittany Ellers is going to talk about this item, which is Transportation Planning Organization Public Participation Plan Major Update.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, TPO board members. Before you today is a major update of your public participation plan. Just a quick overview for those of you that may be new. The public participation plan is ultimately the guiding document for our public outreach efforts in terms of, some of the plans that we produce and approve as a TPO. This plan outlines things like strategies, how we assess these strategies and their effectiveness. And I apologize, my note was under another note. And the products that we go out for engagement for. So the plan is reviewed annually by your staff to make sure that it's still an effective plan, update any kind of small grammatical errors, staff changes, all of that kind of stuff. And then if there's anything major, we bring it before you so that you can review it and provide us with some feedback of your own. The major updates before you today have been initiated by our federal and state partners. The first one is we have added a section for continuity of operations in the event of a natural disaster or, God forbid, another pandemic. We have also added more detail into our disproportionate impact for communities when we are doing the long-range transportation planning process. And then the only other major update is we've added a few more graphics, tried to make it a little more graphically stimulating for people when they read it. Ultimately, this document is for the community to kind of help them understand when and how they can be involved with the TPO process. So we just wanted to make it a little more interesting to read. So today we will start the 45-day review and comment period. If you review the document and you have some feedback or some comments, thoughts, concerns, please let us know by August 6th, 5 p.m. on August 6th. That way we can ensure that those changes are included before approval in October. And that's pretty much it, unless anyone has any questions or concerns.
No question. Looks like none. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Brittany.
And then we go to the planning information package.
And it's the planning information items should be enclosure F in your packet. Those, if you have any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer them.
I see that does have our meeting schedule included, and we do not have another meeting anticipated until October, correct?
October, yes. And we have a tentative, very tentative date of October 6th. Okay, and if everybody can check their calendar and let us know. I don't know if you have the availability to do it now. If not, if you'll let us know by soon, maybe by Friday.
I said October 6th.
6, yes.
I'm good.
Okay, you're good? Good, okay. Good? Okay. Majority is good. Okay. October 6th it is. Thank you.
Do anybody have any other question about anything in the information package?
No, I just keep waiting for you to give us a transit update every time.
That would be Lamar Haas.
I know,
Give you your update. And he is ready.
I know, but when you speak, it's like, okay, I'm ready for transit.
Take us a while to take a while. And this is my first meeting, and thank you very much. And I'm sorry I pronounced your name wrong. I will
You're
pronounce
okay.
it correctly next time.
I slide your note. but I
Yeah.
think
You could have just smacked me or excused me.
And since he mentioned transit,
Yes.
on to the transit action item.
Madam Chair, I'm not,
Gee, so
I'm not near as pretty as Angela, but I'll do my best. What we've asked, the staff's asking you today is to consider Resolution Bay 2119, and that is an agreement between the Bay County Transportation Planning Organization and the Florida State University Board of Trustees for the provision of deviated fixed route services for an initial term, of August the 22nd, 2021 until December the 12th, 2021. Basically, that's their fall term is what we're looking at there. So some time ago, Florida State approached us, Panama City approached us about the need for public transit to assist with giving transportation to their students, particularly because they are in the process of finalizing, I believe it's called Knoll Landing. Is that right, Dr. Clark? Seminole Landing, I'm sorry. And they have received a bunch of questions from parents that are sending their kids here to Florida State now that it will be a 24-hour campus about the need for transportation and that type of thing. So Florida State saw the need to partner with our local public transportation, and we couldn't be more proud to be involved in a partnership with them. We essentially, we don't have any real data to go from because we've never done this before. So what we had to do is kind of take data that we had that was provided to us from other systems that provide this same type of service. And in terms of the number of students that will actually be taking public transportation and that type of thing, and use that data to come up with a cost as it pertains to the Panama City campus and their student body population. So in the fall semester, they have roughly 977 students that attend full-time during the fall semester. And statistical data tells us that about 10% of the student body population takes public transportation. So essentially, that's how we came up with a figure. It's a little under $14,000 for the time frame that we've given you there. By that time, we should have enough ridership data to give a more accurate account as to cost and that type of thing. I will tell you that this is a win-win for us in terms of cost because it's not going to cost us anything really from an operational standpoint because we're already providing a service in that area there on Collegiate Drive. We're already picking up and dropping students off there. So essentially what we'll be doing with this agreement is we're essentially partnering with Florida State to go ahead and pay us in advance, if you will, for their students to go ahead and ride our bus. So we're filling essentially empty seats and being paid for it up front, which is obviously a great thing for us and obviously a great thing for them. I did want to mention Dr. Clark, and I believe some of the student body government are here today if y'all mind standing up, if you don't mind. They have been an excellent group of folks to work with, and I've really enjoyed it. And especially as an FSU alum, anything I can do to help my local university, work out, and I'm always about doing that. Did you guys have anything you wanted to say?
On behalf of Florida State University, Panama City, my name is Irvin Clark, Associate Dean of Student and Strategic Initiatives. As you know, we will become a residential campus, planning to open up on August 20th, 380 beds. That is a game changer for us. As many students that we can keep out of their cars and using public transportation will be a plus for us. And also parents are trying to make their decision as whether or not to send their loved ones with cars. And so that would make our campus safer, alleviate having a large number of cars on the campus. We don't have a parking problem yet, but we're absolutely planning for that. And so this transit system in partnership with the Bay County Trolley will make us consistent with other residential college campuses around the United States.
Well, hello, my name is Lillian Garner. I'm a student body president at Florida State University, Panama City. Dr. Clark pretty summed everything up pretty well. We are bringing the residential housing, and that does change a lot of things for our campus. We're looking at many new additions, changes and stuff that we're going to be bringing. The deal that we have worked out with Mr. Hobbs, we as student government are very pleased with. We are wholeheartedly ready to throw ourselves into this trial period that we have worked out. So yeah, we have really loved working with you, and hopefully this will all work out.
I'm Tyler Tice. I'm the president pro tempore of SGC. And I started towards the beginning with talks with Mr. Hobbs, along with other representatives. And overall, it's been great. I think we'll have a great relationship with each other, and we'll see how the future goes. And then we'll figure out the next steps after the fall semester.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. So with that, staff would respectfully request that the board approve this partnership with Florida State University, and so that we can begin providing services that I think will benefit our community as a whole.
Anybody have any questions about this for Mr. Hobbs?
No questions.
Commissioner Briggs?
No, you mentioned data, ridership data. I was looking under the scope of services that they have student IDs. How are we going to be tracking this? How do you track that?
Good question, Mr. Griggs. You always come up with the best question. We actually, on all of our fixed route buses, we have a software and hardware on there called GenFare. And that is our, GenFare is our fare box, if you will. And it has the capability of reading student IDs. And we've actually already gone through the process of sending them Florida State IDs to make sure it would work with our system that we have currently, and it does. Did not cost us a thing to do that. And it's just a service that they already offer, and we already get to partake in because of our annual fees that we pay them. And so that's how we're going to track the data, and that's also how the students will be able to ride for free, that type of thing.
Okay, and that will give us because you're looking at approximately 100 students using your 10%.
Yes, sir.
But it could be more.
Could be.
And could be less. I mean, so you're tracking it, and that's what I was wondering, how you're going to track it.
Yes, sir. That's how we'll do it. Florida State will provide us the initial list of students that have the student passes for that fall semester. And that information will be uploaded into the computer by GenFare. And as soon as they present their ID will be accepted. If they have, say, for instance, they're a Tallahassee student and come here and it's not a recognized Panama City student that's enrolled here, it will reject the card so that we can for sure know that these are Panama City students that are riding our bus.
This is very exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you all for doing it.
Madam Chair, could I ask a question?
Sure.
Mr. Hobbs, is this open to any Panama City FSU student or only limited to the ones that are living on that campus?
Right now, it will be open to any FSU Panama City student that is an active student ID during the fall semester. It will also be open to any student that is living there at Seminole Landing, that's what we call it, right? And some of those students will be Gulf Coast students. But if they're living there on that, at the, what call it, adult apartments, they will be allowed access to ride the fixed route transit system as well.
How will you know if they're a resident or not?
Well, the plan right now is they will have to have some sort of identification from Florida State University that identifies them, whether it be a student pass with maybe some different information on it. I'm not sure exactly how we'll do that, but that's how we'll be able to identify them.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? If not, then we're ready for a motion on this item.
Make a motion to approve Resolution Bay 2119.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. And now we'll go on to your transit update, Mr. Hall.
So while we're running along with the Florida State theme, I just wanted to mention this because this is a big deal for us. When we started dealing with this partnership, I asked our transit advertising firm that we have, Fuel Media, to about the possibility of wrapping one of these buses to kind of represent that partnership between FSU and the Bay County Trolley or the Bay County Public Transit System. And she actually reached out to Larry Perry and Chris Young, who, as you know, love to advertise on the buses. And they have agreed, said actually their words were it would absolutely be a pleasure for us to fund that and have one of those buses wrapped with that partnership, and we will take care of the cost of that so that we could do that. And that's actually, we were waiting on today to happen, obviously, and then I think towards the end of this month is when they plan on coming to actually do the wrap. And then on the 18th of August is when we're going to have our ribbon cutting, I guess, if you will. And of course, we'd love to have everybody there to represent and be there because this, as Commissioner Griggs said, is a big deal for Bay County Transit. But I did want to mention that to you in case you do get to see Larry Perry or Chris Young. It's a heck of a daggum. It's very expensive to put one of these wraps on, and so it's a great gift, if you will, and they're big supporters of Florida State University. I also wanted to mention, we mentioned during our last TPO meeting about the uniform change with our drivers. We have got all the uniforms in now, and the drivers will be transitioning into their new uniforms over the next week or so. We're waiting on some name tags and belts to come in so that all the drivers will be look-alike. They will present a very professional appearance. And so we're excited about that as we take our next step into growing our system and becoming even more professionalized than we are now. I can only tell you that we have some big things on the horizon that we are already working on. I can't go into a whole lot of detail because nothing's been finalized, but we have a situation currently in the works that would actually probably double the size of our transit system if we were to do this. And it's working with the Department of Defense. So we had a conversation with them this morning, a conference call with them, and we're hoping that everything is looking really good for us. But as we get closer to time and we have something set in stone, I look forward to hopefully coming back in October and sharing that with you and asking for your consideration at that time to maybe have another partnership that be a pretty significant one for the transit system here in Bay County. With that, that's transit.
Anybody have any questions?
I have just a couple questions. How will we go moving forward? Are we moving forward on benches and shelters at our stops? How's that going?
Excellent. We have 9 additional shelters on order now. I also wanted to mention the Chapman Family Foundation has in the past sponsored, paid for shelters, benches, that type of thing. They reached out to us again and have agreed to pay for 4 additional shelters. So tomorrow I'll order 4 additional shelters, 4 additional benches, trash receptacles, and they're paying for everything. So in terms of what that looks like cost-wise, is that's about $20,000 per bus stop. So and they've agreed to fund 4 of them. So that puts into perspective how much money they're putting into the transit system here. So, and this is not the first time they've done it. They've done it prior to this. So, but we are in the process of changing out the shelters. The problem we're running into is just the wait time to get the things in. But as soon as we get them in, we're starting to change them out. We're going to actually, you'll see us start changing the shelters that are out there now. The brown shelters, the old dome shelters that we've used for a long time will be changed out. But the main reason for it is a lot of them have damage from graffiti or from vandalism. The hurricane has eaten the paint off of them in a lot of places, and they just don't look very presentable. And so we're going to start changing those out with our new shelters, and we're going to continue doing that. Our goal is and has been to continue with our bus stop remediation at about $100,000 investment each year. And with the Chapmans coming on, that's a big help as well. So.
All right, thank you. And one more question.
Sure.
I had somebody reach out to me about the stop. I know there's been some email back and forth on it, and I just wanted to see if you could fill us in on stop 4 and stop 2. I'm not really up to speed on that. And so the concern that came to me was, do we have a trolley that's going down to the St. Andrews Towers? Will they be able to catch it there and all? And see if you could speak to that.
Yes, sir. The gentleman that contacted you, I think he sent another email again today, but we actually sat down and met with him some months ago for about 2 hours, trying to ease his mind about some concerns that he had. And he has a lot of concerns, obviously, and some of them I just can't do anything about, but as I can, I try. And he kind of misrepresented some information there, but basically what he did was he did not make it to any of our public presentations that we had. We had 4 of them, or 3 of them, actually, I think 3. And Carpe Diem actually hosted those, and we did them at Gulf Coast State College, at
the Visual Arts Center, and then we did
Lindell.
So he was unable to make it to any of those, so that we could kind of go over the whole concept of the comprehensive operations analysis, the recommended changes, and then get their input. And I'm not quite sure if he's completed a survey or anything like that. We've talked about that, but there was a little bit of issue with him, I think, understanding how to do it and that type of thing. With that being said, what he's talking about is he's talking about Route 4 and Route 2. And what right now, currently, Route 2 and Route 4 both service the Panama City Marina. And that bus stop that he's referring to is actually right adjacent to the Bay County Towers, right where the Marina Civic Center is.
Yes, sir.
And it did sustain some damage as a result of the hurricane, and it's kind of moved down just a little bit, but it's in and around that same area. What we're doing, and I'll get Brad Harrington here to help me because he's our operator and he's been working specifically with our consultant about these changes. So Brad, do you mind explaining that change?
Specifically what we're going to do, or what we're hoping to do, is make the entire system more conducive and more user-friendly, and cut down on headways. So some of what the gentleman's concerns are quite frankly hearsay. It's not firsthand knowledge. We've tried to reach out, have them come back. All the stops in that area are still going to continue to be serviced. They're just going to be serviced in a different way. With an exception to that, on Harrison Avenue, there are some stops in the 700 block. They're going to be moved down to the northern part of the 600 block. But other than that, other than it being serviced by a different route, all those stops are still going to be serviced. Sorry.
Route 2 will continue.
Yeah, Route 2 will continue to go to the City Marina. But instead of it going out to Callaway, it's going to go to the mall. So it's really going to make downtown, it's going to increase the connectivity with public transportation versus only going to Callaway or then going to the college. they're going to go to our main central hub and then they can branch out. But making the change we're doing, it really cuts headways from the Callaway area to the college in half. So it creates a better ridership for the county as a whole.
Okay, thank you. So the residents at St. Andrews Towers, where will their bus stop go? How far will they have to walk? And
No, their stop will still be in the same place.
same place?
That stop's been fenced off because of things at the marina.
Okay.
As soon as we get access to it, we plan on fixing that. But yeah, we're still picking up the same place. Route 2 is still going to go there.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
The one thing I did want to mention that Brad alluded to that is going to be really popular, I think, particularly for the people of Callaway. You know, very large majority of our ridership comes from Callaway going to either the Gulf Coast State College or to the beach.
Yeah.
So they're picked up there at the Walmart, Callaway Walmart, and then they're transferred. Well, that trip to go from that point is an hour to get there and an hour to get back. So that's 2 hours. And that meets our headway, right? Well, by doing what we're doing, and we're now going to have that service by Route 4, that's going to cut that in half. So that basically they're going to be able to get from the Callaway Walmart to Gulf Coast State College within 45 minutes to 30 minutes and then get on to their place of employment. And that's significant when you're talking about going to school and you're talking about going to work.
Right.
You know, and ultimately that's where we want to get to. We want to get to a place where, you know, if Commissioner Dozier sends doesn't have a car for his child that's going to Gulf Coast and they need to be there for 8 o'clock classes, they know if they take public transportation, they're going to get there at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And if they've got to be at work at 6, we're going to have them at work by 6, or at least have them in the location so they can get there by 6. So
Yeah.
it's about making the system as better and with the limited amount of resources we have.
And the concern from this guy was that, at least the way I understood it, was that they would not have a stop there. They'd have to walk, and these are talking about senior citizens and all. And so that's not the case, then it's not a problem.
Yeah, the only stops that are going to be removed is there's 2 stops, and we've already removed them because of the transit issue. But
Yeah.
we used to service that area of Harrison Avenue from about 11th going down to 6th Street. And we still service it now, but the problem was we had that was when Greyhound was still in business there. Greyhound's not in business there, and what we started having was a lot of transients populating those 2 bus stops. There's one there at the Greyhound and one directly across the road. And we started getting a lot of complaints from the business owners saying, you know, these people aren't riding your bus. They're down here messing up our businesses. So what we did was little by little, we started taking amenities away to see if it would help correct the problem. So initially they were throwing trash everywhere we took the trash can. Then they were urinating around the stops and in on people's property. So we took the shelter away. And then they were sleeping on the benches. I think we even had one actually found dead there. A transit that was sleeping there. So eventually we took the bench away, and now we haven't had as much of a transit issue. And the business owners are a little happier now. But that's the 2 stops that are mainly affected by this.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Anybody else? Do you have any comment on anything in the transit information package? Did anybody have any question? I know the revenue and ridership report is in there. So did anybody have any question on that? You have any comment?
Just that our ridership is continuing to climb. We continue to partner with other agencies, much like Florida State. We're in the process now of partnering with another company called Care. I think they're actually fixing to change their name on our demand response side to provide service. We're working with the Social Security Administration to provide service for their clients as well. And then of course we are continuing to do our service in the community. Right now, we're getting ready to do Dump the Pump, which is a national campaign that transit agencies all over the country do that will allow us to, we're going to allow people to ride for free for a day so that they can start taking public transportation, see if it's something that we call that Dump the Pump. And so we're still doing our best to try and get ridership back up to where it was pre-pandemic. And hopefully get our system back to where we were with over 700,000 rides per year. So.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hobbs.
I do have one more question. Is there a minimum age on kids who can ride on the bus by themselves?
12 years old.
12 years old? Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else? Okay, thank you, Mr. Hobbs.
Thank you.
And do we have a legal update?
Nothing to report, Madam Chair.
So other business says next day, TPO meeting will to be determined. I guess it will be October 6th.
October 6th, yes.
Do we have anything they want to bring up before we adjourn? Okay, well, I appreciate everybody being here. We had some good discussion today. So we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, thanks everybody for coming, and we are adjourned.
Thank you.
See you in October.